My best friend married my ex. 5 years later, he called me, begging for help. It's been 5 years since I last talked to Jake, my childhood best friend. We practically grew up in each other's homes. He knew everything about me, every embarrassing story, every secret, every heartbreak, including my breakup with Amy. Amy and I dated all through college. She was my first real love, the kind of person who made me feel like the world just made sense. But things fell apart during our senior year. We argued more than we talked, and eventually, she ended it. I was shattered, but Jake was there to pick up the pieces, so I thought. About 6 months after the breakup, Jake started acting weird. He'd dodge my calls, avoid hangouts, and seemed distracted when we were together. Turns out he'd been seeing Amy behind my back. And to top it off, they got engaged just a few months later. I didn't even go to the wedding. Fast forward to last week. It's a quiet Sunday morning and my phone starts buzzing. I glance at the screen, and there it is. Jake's name. The last person I expect or wanted to hear from. Against my better judgment, I pick up. His voice is shaky, almost unrecognizable. "I need your help, man," he says. "Please just hear me out. I'm torn. A part of me wants to hang up and let him deal with whatever mess he's in. But curiosity gets the better of me. All right, I say. I'm listening." Jake's words hang in the air. I don't respond right away. What could he possibly want from me after all these years? But before I can say anything, he fills the silence. "It's Amy," he says, his voice breaking. She's been cheating on me." I almost laugh out loud. The irony is too much, but the desperation in his tone keeps me from saying anything cruel. Instead, I let him talk. "She's been sneaking around with someone from work." I confronted her and she admitted it. She said she doesn't love me anymore. That she never really did. Jake pauses, and I can hear him struggling to keep it together. A part of me feels vindicated. Like this is karma finally catching up to him. But another part of me, maybe, the part that remembers all the good times we had, feels pity. "What do you want from me, Jake?" I ask, keeping my tone neutral. "Why are you calling me?" "I don't know," he says, exhaling shakily. I guess I thought you'd understand. She broke you the way she broke me." It's an odd choice of words. Amy didn't break me, I loved her, and losing her hurt. But I got over it. Jake's betrayal broke me, but now he's sitting in the rubble of his own mistakes, and somehow he thinks I can help him piece things together. "I don't know if I can help you," I say after a long pause, but I listen. Start from the beginning. Over the next hour, Jake spills everything. The cracks in their marriage started early, but he ignored them, convincing himself that he and Amy were meant to be. She complained he wasn't ambitious enough, that he didn't challenge her. He admits he became complacent, taking her for granted and assuming she'd always stick around. Then she started working late, spending weekends catching up on projects. He'd suspected for months but couldn't bring himself to confront her until last week when he found texts on her phone. "What do I do?" Jake asks, his voice barely a whisper. "I can't face this alone, Dake." I want to tell him it's not my problem, that he made his bed, and now he has to lie in it. But something stops me. Maybe it's the memory of the bond we once had, or maybe it's the fact that I've moved on and don't want to carry this resentment anymore. "Come over," I say finally. "We'll figure this out." Jake arrives an hour later, looking like he hasn't slept in days. His normally confident demeanor is replaced by a defeated slump. We sit in my living room, the air heavy with unspoken tension. "I don't even know who I am anymore," Jake says, staring at his hands. "She's all I had." "You had me," I snap, surprising myself. "You threw that away." Jake flinches, but he doesn't argue. He knows I'm right. "He messed up," he says quietly. "I messed up so bad." I don't let him off the hook. "You lied to me. You betrayed me. And now you want my help." "Yes," he says, looking me in the eye. "I need you." Jake's admission lingers in the air, raw and unfiltered. For a moment, I'm not sure what to say. The anger I've carried for years feels heavy, like a stone pressing down on my chest. But as I look at him broken, desperate, I realize this isn't about getting even. It's about deciding who I want to be. All right, I finally say, leaning forward. Let's figure this out. Start by telling me the whole truth, no holding back. Jake nods, running a hand through his disheveled hair. It started about 6 months ago, he begins. Amy got promoted at work, started spending more time with her boss, Mark. I didn't think much of it at first, but then she started pulling away. She stopped asking me about my day, stopped laughing at my jokes. She'd come home late, smelling like his cologne. I grit my teeth. Hearing this is like reliving my own heartbreak all over again, but I don't interrupt. Jake needs to get this off his chest. I confronted her last week, he continues. She didn't even deny it. Said she was sorry, but she'd been unhappy for years. She told me she didn't love me, that marrying me was a mistake. And then she walked out. Jake's voice cracks, and he looks away, ashamed. I don't know what to do, he whispers. I sit back, letting his words sink in. Part of me wants to tell him he deserves this, that he brought it on himself by betraying me. But another part, the part that still remembers the friend he used to be, feels something closer to compassion. You're not going to fix this overnight, I say after a long pause. But you're not alone. We'll take it one step at a time. The next few weeks are a whirlwind. Jake stays at my place, too ashamed to return to his empty home. We spent hours talking, unpacking the years of resentment and regret that led us here. At first it's awkward, our shared history feels like a minefield, ready to explode at any moment. But slowly, we start to rebuild something resembling a friendship. Then one night, Jake drops a bombshell. I found out who Amy's been seeing, he says, staring at his phone. It's Mark, her boss. I exhale sharply. This just keeps getting messier. What do you want to do about it? I ask carefully. I don't know, Jake admits. Part of me wants to confront him, make him pay for what he's done. But what? Jake hesitates, then looks me in the eye. But I don't want to become the kind of person who lets revenge consume them. I nod slowly, impressed despite myself. Maybe Jake's finally starting to understand the consequences of his actions. The air between us grows heavy as Jake confesses his inner struggle. I can see the tension in his shoulders, the weariness in his eyes. Revenge might be tempting, but I know firsthand how it corrodes you from the inside out. And yet I also know that Jake needs to face this head on, not for Amy, not for Mark, but for himself. Maybe it's not about revenge, I say cautiously. Maybe it's about closure. You can't move on if you're carrying all this anger around. Jake nods slowly, as if he's turning the thought over in his mind. So what do I do? Just let it go. Not exactly, I reply. You need to confront it not with fists, but with words. Tell Mark and Amy what they've done to you, how it's affected you. Sometimes the only way to heal is to let people know the damage they've caused. Jake looks uncertain, but there's a flicker of something else in his eyes, determination. The confrontation happens a few days later. Jake invites Amy and Mark to a neutral location, a small coffee shop on the edge of town. He insists that I come along for moral support, though I'm not sure what role I'm supposed to play. Silent witness. Backup if things go south. Amy arrives first, her expression unreadable. She looks thinner than I remember, her sharp features even more pronounced. Mark follows a few minutes later, oozing smug confidence in a tailored suit. He doesn't even glance at Jake as he sits down. The conversation is tense from the start. Jake struggles to articulate his feelings, stumbling over his words. Amy listens in stony silence, while Mark checks his phone like he's bored out of his mind. Finally, Jake snaps. Do you even care? He demands, his voice rising. Do you have any idea what you've done to me? Amy flinches, but Mark just smirks. Life's messy, kid. Get over it. Before I can stop myself, I lean forward. You've got some nerve, I say evenly, my eyes locking onto Mark's. You wrecked a marriage, and you think you can brush it off like it's nothing? Mark finally looks at me, his expression shifting from amusement to annoyance. And who are you? The moral police? I smile coldly. Just someone who doesn't take kindly to people who destroy others for fun. Amy's voice cuts through the tension. Stop it, both of you. She looks at Jake, her eyes filled with something like regret. Jake, I'm sorry. I know that doesn't fix anything, but I need you to know that I am sorry. It's not much, but it's enough for Jake. He nods, his expression softening just a fraction. Mark, on the other hand, gets up to leave. This was a waste of time, he mutters. You're all pathetic. Jake and I watch him walk away, a shared understanding passing between us. Some people never change. Later that evening, Jake and I sit on my porch, beers in hand. He looks lighter, like a weight has been lifted off his shoulders. Thanks for being there, he says quietly. I couldn't have done it without you. I shrug. That's what friends are for. Jake smiles a real smile, and for the first time in years, I feel like I have my best friend back. In the weeks that follow, Jake begins to piece his life back together. He moves out of the house he shared with Amy and into a small apartment on the other side of town. It's nothing fancy, but he's a fresh start. We start hanging out regularly, like we used to before everything went sideways. There's a tentative bond forming between us, built on honesty and the shared understanding that neither of us is perfect. One Friday night, as we're sitting on his couch eating pizza and watching an old action movie, Jake turns to me with a look I can't quite read. I've been thinking, he says, about everything, about us. I raise an eyebrow. What about us? He hesitates, then takes a deep breath. I've been a terrible friend to you. I see that now. And I don't just mean what happened with Amy. I've taken you for granted, pushed you away when things got tough. I want to make things right. I nod slowly, appreciating his sincerity. Making things right doesn't happen overnight, I tell him. It's about showing up every day, no matter what. But this is a good start. Jake smiles, and for the first time in a long time, it feels like we're truly on the same page. But life has a way of throwing curveballs when you least expect it. A month later, I get a call from Amy. I stare at her name on my phone, my heart pounding. What could she possibly want? After a few moments of internal debate, I answer. Hi, she says, her voice tentative. You know this is weird, but I need to talk to you. What is it, Amy? I ask, keeping my tone neutral. It's about Jake, she says quickly. I think he's in trouble. My stomach drops. What kind of trouble? Amy hesitates, and I can hear the tension in her voice. I don't know for sure, but I saw him the other day. He was arguing with someone outside his apartment, a guy I didn't recognize. It looked intense. I take a deep breath, trying to process this. Why are you telling me this? Why do you even care? Because I still care about him, she admits. I know I don't have the right to ask you for anything, but just check on him, please. I hang up without making any promises, but her words stick with me, gnawing at the edges of my mind. Jake's been doing better, at least. I thought he was. Could there be something he's not telling me? The next day, I head to Jake's apartment. I knock on the door, but there's no answer. I knock again, harder this time. Finally, the door creaks open, and Jake stands there, looking disheveled and pale. What's going on? I ask, stepping inside. Amy called me. She said you've been arguing with someone. Jake sighs heavily, sinking onto the couch. It's nothing, he says, rubbing his temples. Just a guy from work. He's been giving me a hard time. What kind of hard time? I press. Jake hesitates, then looks up at me with a mixture of frustration and fear. He lent me some money a while back. I've been trying to pay him back, but he's been impatient. I feel a surge of anger. Why didn't you tell me? I could have helped. I didn't want to drag you into it, Jake says quietly. I thought I could handle it on my own. Well, you're not on your own anymore, I say firmly. We'll figure this out together. Jake's confession about the money lender doesn't sit well with me. I can see the anxiety etched into his face, the way his hands fidget in his lap. This isn't just some casual misunderstanding, this is serious. How much do you owe him? I ask, keeping my voice calm. Jake hesitates before mumbling, 5 grand. I whistle low to it. It's a significant amount, but not insurmountable. And he's been pressuring you? Jake nods, looking down. He's been showing up at my apartment, calling me at all hours. He's not exactly the most patient guy. I lean back, processing everything. All right, I say finally. First thing we do is figure out how to get this guy off your back. You've been honest with me, now it's time to be honest with him. No more dodging. Jake looks doubtful, but I press on. I'll go with you, I add. We'll set up a payment plan or something, but you have to face this. That evening, we meet the guy, his name's Terry, in the parking lot of a dingy diner on the outskirts of town. He's older, probably in his late 40s, with a stocky build and a face that looks like it's seen its fair share of bar fight. The way he leans against his car, arms crossed, radiates intimidation. About time, Terry growls as we approach. I was starting to think you'd skip town. Jake swallows hard but stands his ground. I didn't skip town. I've been trying to figure things out. And Terry raises an eyebrow, clearly unimpressed. I don't have the full amount, Jake admits, his voice steady, but I'm working on it. I can start paying you back in installments every 2 weeks until it's done. Terry's eyes narrow, and for a moment I think he's going to blow up, but then he smirks, shaking his head. You've got guts, I'll give you that. Fine. We'll do it your way for now. But if you miss a payment, there'll be consequences. The unspoken threat lingers in the air, but Jake nods. He won't miss a payment. As we drive back to Jake's apartment, the tension begins to ebb. Jake looks relieved, like a weight has been lifted off his shoulders. Thanks for coming with me, he says quietly. I don't think I could have done that on my own. I shrug. That's what friends are for. Jake smiles, and for the first time, I feel like he's starting to get back on solid ground. But deep down, I can't shake the feeling that this isn't over. There's something about Terry, his smug confidence. The way he looked at Jake that doesn't sit right with me. And as it turns out, I'm right. A few weeks later, Jake shows up at my door, looking more rattled than I've ever seen him. It's Terry, he says, his voice trembling. He showed up at my job. I frown. Why? You've been making the payments, haven't you? I have, Jake insists. But he said it's not enough. He's demanding more, and he's not being subtle about it. My stomach tightens. This is exactly what I was afraid of. All right, I say, grabbing my jacket. Let's deal with this. Jake looks at me, panic in his eyes. How? We confront him, I reply. And this time, we make it clear that he doesn't get to push you around anymore. The confrontation doesn't go as planned. Terry is as combative as ever, and his demands escalate. Jake and I find ourselves in a dangerous game, trying to navigate a situation that's spiraling out of control. The stakes are higher than ever, and the choices we make could have lasting consequences for better or worse. The tension in the story escalates quickly after Terry's invasive move. Jake is visibly shaken, and it's clear that this situation is spiraling beyond what he can handle. But I know one thing. We can't keep playing Terry's game. Something has to change, and fast. The next morning, Jake calls me early, his voice shaking through the phone. He showed up again, he says, barely able to get the words out. At my apartment this time. He said he wants the full amount by the end of the week or else. My chest tightens. What does or else mean? I ask, though I can already guess. Jake hesitates, then answers in a whisper. He said he'd destroy me. I pause, letting the gravity of his words sink in. This isn't just about money anymore, it's about control, intimidation, and fear. All right, I say firmly. We're going to the police. No, Jake snaps, surprising me. I can't. Terry knows people, he said. If I involve the cops, things will get worse. I exhale slowly, weighing our options. Then we'll confront him again, I say, my resolve hardening. But this time, we're not backing down. That evening, we meet Terry in the same diner parking lot. Jake is nervous, but there's a flicker of determination in his eyes. As we approach Terry, I notice he's not alone. Two men stand beside him, their arms crossed and expressions cold. Brought back up, huh? Terry sneers. Smart move. I step forward, my voice steady. This stops now. Jake's been paying you back, and he'll continue to do so. But you don't get to threaten him, show up at his job or his home. You've crossed the line. Terry smirks, his eyes gleaming with amusement. And what are you gonna do about it? I take a deep breath, meeting his gaze. We'll find a way to pay you back in full soon. But if you come after Jake again, I'll make sure everyone in town knows who you really are. Terry's smirk falters, but only slightly. You think you scare me? I don't respond. Instead, I hold his gaze, unflinching. It's a gamble, but Terry's confidence wavers just enough. Finally, he raises his hands in mock surrender. Fine, he says, his tone dripping with sarcasm. But you better pay up soon. As Terry and his men leave, Jake lets out a shaky breath. "I don't know how you do it," he says, his voice filled with a mix of relief and awe. I shrug, though my heart is racing. Sometimes you have to stand your ground. Over the next few days, Jake works tirelessly to pull together the money he owes Terry. He takes on extra shifts at work, sells a few belongings, and even asks his boss for an advance. It's not easy, but little by little, he inches closer to his goal. And then, just when it seems like things are finally settling down, everything unravels again. Jake comes home one evening to find his apartment broken into. His belongings are scattered everywhere, and a spray-painted message on the wall reads, "You're out of time." Jake stands in the middle of his wrecked apartment, his face pale and his hands trembling. The spray-painted message on the wall feels like a punch in the gut. It's not just a warning. It's a promise of more trouble to come. "We need to call the police," I say firmly, scanning the damage. This has gone too far. Jake hesitates, his breathing uneven. "But Terry," he said. "You know what he said?" I interrupt. "But this isn't just about you anymore. Terry broke the law. If we don't involve the cops, he'll keep pushing and it'll only get worse." Jake looks at me, his eyes filled with doubt. But after a long moment he nods. "All right," he says quietly. "Let's do it." The police arrive within the hour, documenting the break-in and the vandalism. Jake explains everything is dead to Terry, the threats, the harassment, but he's careful not to exaggerate. The officer, taking notes, listens intently, his expression serious. "We'll investigate," the officer says after Jake finishes. "But I'd recommend getting a restraining order against this guy. It might not solve everything, but it's a start." As the officer leaves, Jake exhales deeply, like he's finally able to breathe. "I can't believe I let it get this bad," he says, his voice barely above a whisper. "It's not your fault," I reply, squeezing his shoulder. "You didn't ask for this." Over the next few days, Jake stays at my place while the police investigate the break-in. He's jumpy, constantly looking over his shoulder, but slowly, he starts to regain some semblance of normalcy. The restraining order helps, though Terry's presence still looms like a shadow. Then, one night, everything comes to a head. It's later past midnight when I hear a knock at my door. I glance at Jake, who's asleep on the couch, and then cautiously walk to the door. Through the peephole, I see Terry standing there, his face twisted with anger. My heart races. I open the door just enough to speak. "What do you want?" "We need to talk," Terry growls, his voice low and menacing. "Now." "I don't think so," I reply, keeping my voice steady. "You're violating a restraining order just by being here." Terry laughs coldly. "You think that piece of paper scares me? Jake owes me, and I'm not leaving until I get what I'm owed." Before I can respond, Jake appears behind me, his face pale but determined. "Leave," he says, his voice firm. "You've done enough damage." Terry steps closer, his eyes narrowing. "I don't think you understand how this works, kid. You don't tell me what to do, tell you?" Jake doesn't flinch. "No," he says firmly. "Not anymore." For a moment, Terry looks like he's going to explode, but then without warning, he steps back, his smirk returning. "You've got guts, I'll give you that," he says, his tone mocking. "But this isn't over." And with that, he turns and walks away, leaving us standing in the doorway. The confrontation feels like a turning point. Jake is still shaken, but I can see a spark of something new in his eyes resolve. He's done being afraid, done letting Terry control his life. "This ends now," he says quietly, his jaw set. "No more hiding." Jake's resolve to take control of his life strengthens in the days following Terry's late-night visit. The fear is still there, lingering in the background, but it's overshadowed by a new sense of determination. He's tired of being a victim, tired of letting Terry dictate his every move. The first step is to secure the funds to settle the debt once and for all. Jake dives into work, picking up every extra shift he can get. He even sells his car, an old sedan that holds more sentimental value than monetary worth. I offer to lend him some money, but he insists on handling it himself. "This is my mess," he says one evening, his voice steady. "I need to be the one to clean it up." A week later, Jake finally gathers the full $5,000 he owes Terry. He looks both relieved and exhausted as he shows me the envelope of cash. "It's over," he says, more to himself than to me. But something about this doesn't sit right with me. Terry has proven time and time again that he's not the kind of guy to simply walk away. Be careful. I warned Jake. Don't let your guard down. He nods, but I can tell he's just eager to close this chapter of his life. The final meeting takes place at the same diner parking lot. Jake is nervous but resolute as we approach Terry, who's leaning against his car with the same smug expression he always wears. His two lackeys are there too, standing just close enough to be intimidating. "You've got the money?" Terry asks, his tone casual. Jake hands him the envelope without a word. Terry opens it, flipping through the bills with a practiced eye. "Looks like it's all here," he says, his lips curling into a grin. "Congrats, kid. You're free." The tension in Jake's shoulders eases, and for a moment, I think it's really over. But then Terry's grin fades, replaced by a cold, calculating expression. Of course, he adds, "There's still the matter of interest." Jake freezes. "Interest? We agreed on 5,000. We agreed on that months ago," Terry says, shrugging. "But things change. Consider it a late fee." My blood boils. "This is extortion," I say, stepping forward. "You can't just change the terms like this." Terry chuckles, unfazed. "Who's going to stop me?" "You." Before I can respond, Jake surprises me by stepping in front of me. "No," he says firmly. "You don't get a dime. We're done." Terry's eyes narrow, and for a moment, I think he's going to lash out. But then he laughs a harsh, unpleasant sound. "You've got guts, kid. I'll give you that. Fine, keep your money, but don't ever cross me again." He turns and walks away, his lackeys following close behind. Jake and I stand there in stunned silence, the weight of the moment slowly sinking in. "It's over," Jake says finally, his voice trembling. "It's really over." The drive back to Jake's apartment is quiet. Neither of us speaks, but there's a shared understanding between USA's sense of relief mixed with the realization of how close we came to losing everything. As we pull up to his building, Jake turns to me. "I don't know how to thank you," he says, his voice filled with emotion. "You've been there for me through all of this." "I don't deserve it." I shake my head. "That's what friends are for," I tell him. "And besides, you've shown me that you're stronger than you think. And you don't need Terry or anyone like him to define you." Jake smiles, a genuine smile that reaches his eyes. For the first time in years, he looks like the person I used to know, the friend I thought I'd lost forever. In the months that follow, Jake rebuilds his life piece by piece. He finds a new job, makes new friends, and starts to dream about a future free from the shadows of his past. Our friendship grows stronger too, forged in the fire of everything we've been through together. As for Terry, he fades into the background, a distant memory of a battle we fought and won. But the lessons we learned, the strength we found in ourselves and each other stay with us, shaping the people we're becoming. And in the end, that's what matters most. As the months go by, Jake flourishes in ways I hadn't anticipated. He finds not just a job but a career he's passionate about, working at a nonprofit that helps at-risk youth. It's ironic. In a way, helping others avoid the kind of trouble he stumbled into ends up being the perfect outlet for all the lessons he's learned. Our friendship grows deeper, built on trust that's been reforged through everything we've been through. We talk openly now about our mistakes, our regrets, and our hopes for the future. There's no more hiding, no more resentment, just honesty. One evening, as we sit on his balcony, watching the sun dip below the horizon, Jake turns to me with a thoughtful expression. "I don't think I ever really thanked you," he says, his voice quiet. "Not just for being there when everything fell apart, but for helping me find my way back." I shake my head. "You didn't need my help to find your way back. That was all you." He smiles, but there's a hint of sadness in his eyes. "Still, I wouldn't have made it through without you. You reminded me of the person I wanted to be, the person I lost somewhere along the way." I don't know what to say to that, so I just nod. Sometimes words aren't enough. As for Terry, he becomes little more than a ghost from our past. Jake never hears from him again, and we both take that as a blessing. But the scars Terry left behind, the fear, the uncertainty, the pain, serve as a reminder of how close we came to losing everything. Jake uses those scars as motivation, throwing himself into his work with a passion that's almost contagious. He talks about starting a program for young adults, teaching them how to navigate life's challenges without resorting to the kind of desperation that led him to Terry. And me? I couldn't be prouder of the person he's become. One day, as we're walking through the park, Jake stops and turns to me. "I've been thinking," he says, his tone serious, "about everything that's happened, about how much things have changed." "Yeah," I say, curious where he's going with this. I think I finally understand what it means to let go," he says, his voice steady. "Not just of the bad stuff, but of the person I used to be. I'm not that guy anymore, and I don't want to be." I smile, clapping him on the back. "I'd say you've come a long way, my friend." Jake grins, a spark of confidence in his eyes. "Thanks. I couldn't have done it without you." The story of Jake and Terry, of betrayal and redemption, isn't just a chapter in Jake's life, it's a turning point. It's the moment he stopped running from his past and started building a future he could be proud of. And as his friend, I feel lucky to have been part of that journey. Because in the end, it's not about the mistakes we've made, it's about the choices we make after. And Jake, he chose to rise above. 6 months have passed since Jake's ordeal with Terry came to a close. While the scars of the experience still linger in subtle ways, Jake has transformed into someone entirely new. His job at the non-profit isn't just work to him anymore, it's a calling. He spends his days mentoring young people, sharing his story, and encouraging them to make choices that lead to brighter futures. One day, Jake calls me excitedly, his voice brimming with energy. "You're not going to believe this," he says. "I got offered a promotion." I grin, proud of him but unsurprised. "Of course, I believe it. You've been killing it." Jake laughs, but there's a hint of hesitation in his voice. "It's more responsibility, though a lot more. I'll be managing a team and overseeing new outreach programs." "It's a little intimidating." "Jake," I say, my tone firm but supportive. "Look at what you've already overcome. If anyone can handle this, it's you." He pauses, taking my words in. "Thanks," he says softly. "It means a lot coming from you." A week later, Jake accepts the promotion, diving headfirst into his new role. Watching him flourish is a reminder of how far he's come and how much he's capable of. After story chapter 2. A new bond. As Jake's professional life takes off, his personal life begins to shift in unexpected ways. During one of his community outreach events, he meets someone, a carer, a volunteer with a radiant smile and a heart for helping others. At first, Jake is hesitant. Relationships haven't exactly been his strong suit in the past, but Kara's warmth and kindness begin to break through his defenses. One evening, Jake invites me to grab dinner and mentions her for the first time. "There's someone I've been seeing," he says, almost shyly. I raise an eyebrow, amused by his sudden bashfulness. "Seeing? Like dating?" "Kind of," he admits. "We've hung out a few times. She's incredible. Smart, funny, passionate about what she does, but I don't know, I'm scared of screwing it up." "Jake," I say, leaning forward, "Kara sounds great, but the fact that you're scared means you care. Relationships aren't about being perfect, they're about showing up, just like you've been doing." Jake nods, a small smile forming on his face. "You're right. I guess I've just got to take the leap." Weeks turn into months, and Jake and Kara's relationship blossoms. She challenges him to be vulnerable, to embrace the things he's been afraid of. And for the first time in years, Jake allows himself to dream about a future that includes not just growth and success, but love. After story, chapter 3. Paying it forward a year after Jake's promotion, he decides to start something new, a mentorship program for young adults struggling to find their way. He calls it Rise Up, and its focus is on helping participants navigate difficult situations, build confidence, and create sustainable paths forward. The program quickly gains traction, drawing in participants and supporters from across the city. Jake invites me to attend the launch event, and as I stand in the crowd, watching him speak, I'm struck by how far he's come. He talks about resilience, about learning from mistakes, about the power of community, and though he doesn't name names, it's clear that his words are shaped by the challenges he's faced and overcome. After the event, Jake finds me in the crowd, his face glowing with pride. "Thank you," he says simply. "For what?" I ask, genuinely curious. "For everything," he replies. "For sticking by me even when I didn't deserve it. for reminding me that I could be more. I shake my head, smiling. You didn't need me to remind you, you just needed to see it for yourself. Jake grins, and as we stand there, surrounded by the buzz of a successful launch, I realize that this is the culmination of everything he's worked for. He's not just surviving anymore, he's thriving. Let me know if you'd like me to expand on any of these chapters or create more. There's so much room to explore Jake's journey. As Jake's professional life takes off, his personal life begins to shift in unexpected ways. During one of his community outreach events, he meets someone, Kara, a volunteer with a radiant smile and a heart for helping others. At first, Jake is hesitant. Relationships haven't exactly been his strong suit in the past. But Kara's warmth and kindness begin to break through his defenses. One evening, Jake invites me to grab dinner and mentions her for the first time. There's someone I've been seeing, he says, almost shyly. I raise an eyebrow, amused by his sudden bashfulness. Zing? Like dating. Kind of, he admits. We've hung out a few times. She's incredible, smart, funny, passionate about what she does. But I don't know, him scared of screwing it up. Yake, I say, leaning forward. Kara sounds great, but the fact that you're scared means you care. Relationships aren't about being perfect, they're about showing up just like you've been doing. Jake nods, a small smile forming on his face. You're right. I guess I've just got to take the leap. Weeks turn into months, and Jake and Kara's relationship blossoms. She challenges him to be vulnerable, to embrace the things he's been afraid of. And for the first time in years, Jake allows himself to dream about a future that includes not just growth and success, but love. A year after Jake's promotion, he decides to start something new, a mentorship program for young adults struggling to find their way. He calls it Rise Up, and its focus is on helping participants navigate difficult situations, build confidence, and create sustainable paths forward. The program quickly gains traction, drawing in participants and supporters from across the city. Jake invites me to attend the launch event, and as I stand in the crowd, watching him speak, I'm struck by how far he's come. He talks about resilience, about learning from mistakes, about the power of community. And though he doesn't name names, it's clear that his words are shaped by the challenges he's faced and overcome. After the event, Jake finds me in the crowd, his face glowing with pride. Thank you, he says simply. For what? I ask, genuinely curious. For everything, he replies. For sticking by me, even when I didn't deserve it. For reminding me that I could be more. I shake my head, smiling. You didn't need me to remind you, you just needed to see it for yourself. Jake grins, and as we stand there, surrounded by the buzz of a successful launch, I realize that this is the culmination of everything he's worked for. He's not just surviving anymore, he's thriving. If you like this video, please subscribe for more.